Thank you very much, sir, for this introduction, which probably I didn't deserve fully. And before I share my views with this audience, I must express my gratitude to the organizers of this conference, that is National Center for Science Communication, and this beautiful Parshuram College of Engineering, with which, yesterday only I landed here, and love at first sight with this place. Wonderfully thought. As we say in Hindi, jungle mein aapne mangal kar diya, sir. I mean, one could never imagine when we are coming through the roads, and those, especially the narrow road after Chiplung, that suddenly you will be exposed to such a wonderful infrastructure. Since morning we enjoyed this place and this infrastructure. So thank you very much for creating such a wonderful facility in this remote locality, which definitely must be giving opportunity to the children of this region for this higher education. Now, coming to my topic, I'll be talking my presentation. So I'll be talking about science communication for perception management, particularly as applied in the field of Department of Atomic Energy or the nuclear power as such. Just now you heard a wonderful lucid talk by none other than Shri Bal Phonke, whom I consider as a doyen of science communication in India, but not only in India, but internationally. You heard his views. He talked about those 7 paradigms in science communication, wonderfully described by him. But you must have noticed one thing, that the crux of the issue is, the center of his talk was to develop scientific temper and inculcate the habit of logical and rational thinking. In fact, if you have achieved that in the society, if the entire society starts thinking in a rational manner and thus give up the irrational behavior, all the problems, you will not need any more communication in that. Now we see that people, because they lack scientific temperament, and I'm not talking of people who are not educated in science. I have come across people who are highly educated in science, but they lack scientific temperament. I remember an incident, though I am drifting from my topic, but I remember an incident. I was very junior at Bhabha Atomic Research Center. I had an immediate boss, and a highly educated person, and definitely I used to look at him to learn things from him. And one day on a Saturday is an off there. We have 5-day working. So I saw him walking on the footpath, and out of my respect for him, I called his name and wished him good morning. He looked at me, and I saw that he did not appreciate my calling his name. And he told, whenever somebody is going for an important work, you should not call out his name like this. Panvati lag jata hai, wo kaam siddh nahi hota hai. I felt very bad anyway. The following Monday we met in office, and I apologized to him because he will be signing my appraisal, the yearly confidential report. So I apologized to him, but at the same time, I made a query to him. I said, I could not understand that what happened. And he said, see, this is what happened. I was going for a Shubh Karya. And what was that Shubh Karya? Those days, if you have to go to your muluk, your village, previous day or early in the morning, you have to go to the VT station and stand in a queue for about 5-6 hours. only to be told when your turn comes, only to be told that on the day of your intended travel, all tickets have been booked, so nothing is available. So that is what happened to that gentleman, probably because I said good morning to him. I really felt very bad. Now, I was not in a position to thrash him because then he would have thrashed my career. But I really felt bad that he is a postgraduate of science and he is leading a program, but he is lacking that scientific temperament. So anyway, now coming back to my topic, the role of science communication in risk perception management, the case of nuclear power. So can you change the slides for me? I'll be more comfortable. Huh? So just give me the next slide. So before I proceed further, let's talk about perception. It's just a definition of process. The process by which individuals select, organize, and interpret the input from their senses to give meaning and order to the world around them. Now, each one could observe the same thing, but his inferences from those things. I think you must have heard a very popular story. Four people who, vision impaired, uh, they happen to come near an elephant. So by feel, for the first time in their life, they are feeling because as they cannot see, so they are visualizing an elephant through the feel. So they touch the various parts of the elephant's body. I think you have heard the story, I will not repeat. So their perception about an elephant was totally different. So maybe at times in society, different people, when they observe a certain fact or a certain incidence, but with their limited knowledge, so they build a perception about that particular incidence or that particular thing. Now, I think the role of science communicator is to give them a picture in totality. You know, why the perception, why they have different perceptions, because they do not have the complete information. So they are not able to perceive the reality. So the science communicator's job is to give them total information about that thing, that incidence, or that phenomenon, so that all of them are very close, their perceptions are very close to the reality. Next slide, please. Now, I will directly come to, because my specialty of field is risk communication. I communicate about the risks involved or not involved in nuclear power. I talk about them, so I'll be giving you examples from there only. Now, when we come to assessed risk versus perceived risk, you know, you do any activity, somebody must have designed this building, he must have kept certain safety aspects into, you know, other than utility, must have kept safety aspects in his mind. You know, there is no reason that there is a door there, there is a door here, and there are doors behind. It's not just part of a design, it's part of a scientific thinking. That God forbid, if there is a time of emergency, you should have multiple exits. So the people sitting in that corner can get out, so that there is no stampede. So that thinking goes behind designing of the building. So similarly, whenever you design, let us say a nuclear power plant, there are people, there are specialists who do the probabilistic. Today morning only on the breakfast table, I was telling some of my friends about this probabilistic safety analysis. We have got specialists in our department who are doing this job, that a nuclear power station with those safety features, with those design features, when you have, what are the risks involved even in that? Now there, in fact, that's a very complicated subject, and such people, if they come into contact with people or with journalists, and they introduce themselves that I do probabilistic safety analysis, then naturally the people will ask, what is the probability of a nuclear reactor going berserk, you know, just bursting? into an atom bomb, just like atom bomb. What is the probability? People will ask. This has actually happened. So we had a specialist at VARC who had done a lot of work on probabilistic safety analysis. In a symposium, he came across a science journalist. So science journalist, he was not interested in, the entire research he had carried out. He only wanted to know some figure from him. That what is the probability that a nuclear power station will burst out? So he was an expert after all, and immediately came out a figure, and he told. I mean, it's a cooked up figure I'm telling because I don't remember the exact figure. So he said 1.623 into 10 to the power of -7. That is the probability of a nuclear accident in a nuclear reactor. Now that every science journalist is not intelligent like Vithal Natkani, my friend sitting here. In fact, most of them are not like him. He is not a typical journalist. He is much more than a science journalist. You'll be meeting him, probably he'll be speaking. But most of the journalists I have come across, and I am including science journalists, sir, you will feel surprised. I have met some people who are doing crime beat in the morning and science reporting in the afternoon. I have met such people. So such people, when somebody tells 1.623 into 10 to the power of -7, he does not make any ABCD out of it. He only writes in the next newspaper, the expert tells there is a finite probability of a nuclear reactor bursting all of a sudden. There is a probability. So all that science communication which was done on the previous day by an expert in the field, it has gone wrong, totally wrong, because the message which has gone to the public is that a nuclear reactor can undergo an X-ray. So the next day the media approached me because I was the chief spokesperson for the Department of Atomic Energy. So after all, when the news got printed, next day the media approached me that what is told in that report, is it true? Then I said, no, it is not true, it is not the full truth. Then they asked me, you tell what is the probability of a nuclear reactor suddenly bursting out. I said, a nuclear reactor suddenly meeting an accident and collapsing, that building collapsing, that probability is rarer than this hall suddenly coming down. Because the design of a nuclear reactor and design of a civilian building which is made is totally different. For example, this hall, or for that matter, any civil structure when you make, you must have seen that you make columns and beams of RCC and you fill them up with bricks. Okay, now bricks are not that strong as the RCC is. Okay, on the contrary, a nuclear reactor, there are no columns and beams. The entire walls and the dome, everything is one piece. It is entirely made of RCC. There are no bricks used in constructing a nuclear reactor. So the entire thing is made up of RCC, and there the thickness, the wall thickness at the thickest portion is more than 2 meters. And at the thinnest portion is about 1 meter. So it's tapering. The wall thickness is tapering. And then particularly in Indian reactors, there are two such buildings, one inside the other. We call it double containment. So what is to be told to the public is with full conviction that, Baba, look, a picture theater, suddenly the roof coming down, that probability is more than the roof of a nuclear power reactor coming down. I think that is the message which has to be delivered to the public. You don't have to tell them what is probabilistic safety analysis, what are the theories involved. So anyway, so here, when we design anything, there is an assessed risk. And that assessed risk, the center line, I have tried to show. The center line, I have written there, the scientifically assessed risk. But the risk perceived by the people could be different from it because they do not have total knowledge. Now, this perceived risk, it could be an amplified risk or it could be an attenuated risk. You know, everybody tells you must walk or you must always drive to your left hand side in India. So left hand drive. So you should be driving to your left. All general public who are told, now there is a assessed risk that if everybody follows this rule, there would be a certain probability of a road accident occurring. But general public that the probability is much lesser than that, and we take shortcuts. Very often on the road we take the shortcut. So when it comes to road safety, okay, but when it comes to fear about nuclear power, it is an amplified risk. The risk is only this much, but people think the risk is this much. So I think again a science communicator's job is to remove both the amplified risk as well as the attenuated. So basically the job of the science communicator is to bring the public, the perception of the public to as close as possible to the scientifically assessed risk. He should have correct information about what is the risk and the benefit involved in a particular process. Can I have? Next slide. Yeah. So see, whenever there is a perception, it leads to conflict. See, this happened with us at Kudankulam in 2013 when we were trying in fact 2011 when we were trying to start a nuclear reactor, Kudankulam Nuclear Power Plant Unit 1. Just months before that, Fukushima had happened. And so there was a perception in the minds of the people that the next accident, if it can happen in a very advanced country like Japan, so next one will definitely happen in India. So why we should allow nuclear power plant in India? So in fact, there was a conflict between the public and the government. Government wanted to start that reaction, power station, but the local public, whose perceived risk was much higher than the scientifically assessed risk, they wanted to close down. So there was a conflict. Now I think in MBA they may be teaching many scientific methods and Western methods of conflict management, but I personally feel that the good old Indian method is the best one for conflict management, as we call it, the Chanakya Niti. I think we'll go to next slide. I'll be jumping some slides because time is short. So the Chanakya Niti for conflict management. What does it say? That by Sam, Dam, Dand and Bhed, you should solve all the conflicts. Sam is basically communication by convincing people. Dam is by compensating people. Dand is naturally it is punishment to the people. And Bhed is by making a strategy, at times making a combination of the above three. That is what is Bhed. Okay. So I think we have to follow. And here the most important thing is communication. So if you are able to establish good communication with people, I think you will have to pay less money as compensation to them. You may not have to do much if you are able to convince them by mere communication. Let's have next slide. So here coming to the typical case of atomic energy, here though I have divided, see we are into 125 years of atomic energy. You know, X-ray was discovered in 1895 and we are approaching 2025. So it's going to be 130 years of discovery of X-rays. That period I have divided into three. So the initial, can I have a glass of water? Bottle of water. So first period of 40 years, I call it honeymoon period. Nobody questioned whether radiation is dangerous. And in fact, radioactivity and radiation, they were being used rampantly without any consideration for risk, people were consuming radioactive substances. This bottle of mineral water, at that time, radioactive mineral water was being sold, both naturally radioactive as well as artificially made radioactive water was being sold in the market. Bottles of solutions of thorium chloride and radium chloride, mind it, dangerous. Radium chloride and thorium chloride solutions, aqueous solutions, they were filled in small bottles and they were being sold in the market as magic potions for health. And the advertisements in those days, they used to say discovered by Curie, and now it is to be used by you people. So that was the period nobody questioned, nobody knew that what radiation can do. There was knowledge base was not there. That time there was total faith. Often people say it is fear of the unknown. I don't agree with that. It is not fear of the unknown, because particularly in the case of atomic radiation, when everything was unknown, there was no risk was known about radiation. Faith was full that radiation and radioactivity is solution for all problems. That's what in I think 100 years from now, 100 years back, that's what people used to think. That problem, the solution for every health problem is drink some radioactivity. 100 years back, people used to think. Today, I try to set up a nuclear power reactor and I tell people that there will be no outage of radiation, there will be no radioactive fallout, but still there is a potential. So we have entered into that situation. It's a paradigm shift in the people. When they did not know about radiation, they had full faith. But today, when complete scientific knowledge that how much radiation is good or not bad or safe for the people, above what level it should not go, that complete knowledge is there. Now people are having suspicion about anything you utter, so much so that there is a technology known as nuclear magnetic resonance. In the laboratories, scientific laboratories, it is used by that name, because organic compounds, they will take NMR spectrum of that. So the same thing when it was to be used in health sector, people were not going for it. They used to say nuclear magnetic resonance. No, Baba, no. I don't want to undergo that test. So public acceptance of nuclear magnetic resonance was so poor that they had to change the name. And do you know what is the present name of NMR as applied in healthcare? It is MRI. Very popular, very popular. And I mean, even if there is a small fracture, I mean, last year there was a suspected fracture in my back, and an MRI was done. An MRI was done. And public, very jolly well, they go for MRI, but they will never go for nuclear magnetic resonance. If you say it is an MR, then they will not go. Full convenience. So today, we are in that situation that we have to defend atomic energy like anything. Maybe we can move to next slide. Yeah, this one. So here, in fact, I have made a common man at the center, having perceptions about, let us say, nuclear power. Now, what are the sources of this information and the reasons for perception? Because whenever a government project comes, certain promises are made by partly by the government and partly by the politicians, that when this project comes, what all you will get. So sometimes those expectations, they do not come true. Or the dil mange more, you give certain things to them, you give them 400 jobs, they want 4,000 jobs. Okay, though 4,000 people may not be required in that facility, but they want those many jobs. So a conflict generates from expectations, because expectations are not fully made, so they become anti-project. Then there are those fears of unknown or little known, with which I do not agree fully. Then there is anti-organizational propaganda by NGOs and partly by the media. Okay, so because media doesn't consist of only Vithal Nadkarni, there are others in the media. So this all leads to the perceptions, and those are all negative perceptions. So nuclear power is dangerous. If you give job to everyone who wants the job, probably they will. This I have seen. Uranium Corporation of India Limited, which does the mining of uranium in India. There I went, and I went to a locality where at least one person from that family is employed in that Uranium Corporation of India Limited, but still they are looking for some compensation also. So when I went there, I visited the families, everybody was there with a complaint. And their complaints, you know, they are at times very funny. The jokes get created. I met their people. So when you meet the ladies will say that they are not able to bear children. बांझ हो गए हैं वो, वहां हिंदी में बोला हम लोग बांझ हो गए हैं वो विकिरण की वजह से. And another one I read, so they said nobody marries our daughters, saying that this village का daughters बांझ हो गई हैं विकिरण की वजह से. Third, they told that there are a lot of miscarriages to the ladies. And finally, they said there are a lot of genetically deformed children in the village. So you put them together, it becomes a joke. Marriages are not happening because ladkiyan baanj ho gayi hain, but still they are becoming pregnant, and then miscarriages are happening. And although miscarriages are happening, but still lot of children are being born, and these children who are being born, most of them are genetically deformed. And when I visited these villages, in fact, I found sound health. Children are running around and all. So rather than arguing with them on that aspect, I said I am in this position, though I was not. I told I know the government very closely. If you want, मैं ताला लगवा देता हूँ UCI. आप लोगों को बहुत तकलीफ हो रही है ना UCI से, मुझे भी लगता है वो लोग बदमाशी कर रहे हैं, कल से ताला लगवा देता. अरे नहीं सर, वो ऐसा मत कीजिए, हमारा रोजी रोटी है. So then what do you want? No, they want UCI to run so that more and more compensation will come to them. So they are actually well-wishers of UCI, and that well-wishing is due to their selfish motive. So I think that one has to take care. Next. So when you communicate, which is the right time to communicate? So I think again from Indian philosophy, we get the answer. दुख में सुमिरन सब करें, सुख में करे न कोई. जो सुख में सुमिरन करें तो दुख काहे को होए. So if you are communicating with the people when there is no problem, no crisis has happened, probably you will be able to convince people in a better manner. But if the damage has already happened, if एक गाय मर गया है and people believe the गाय मर गया है वो विकिरण की वजह से हुआ है, then if you are telling, the effect will not be there. So I think we should not wait for a crisis to happen. The acceptance and credibility should be built in happier times. In fact, when there is nothing wrong at that time, you should go and tell the people that nothing will be wrong, all will be well. So I think that question, when to communicate is, I think the answer is that every day you have to continuously on a regular basis, you have to keep communicating with the people. Next one. With whom to communicate? Now question comes, with whom to communicate? मतलब मैं क्या करूं, सड़क पे जाऊं, पान की दुकान पे लोग खड़े हैं उनको बोलूं न्यूक्लियर पावर सेफ है क्या? So with whom to communicate? Answer to that is, if the total public, they can be divided into 4 groups. If you plot them with x-axis having knowledge about a particular subject, and on the y-axis you put level of participation, that how active they are. So these two, if you plot, you can easily divide people into 4 groups. One is low, another is high-low, another is high, and the fourth one is low-high. Okay, so low knowledge. So most of the people, if you go to any locality, let us say tomorrow a decision is taken that a nuclear power station is to be established just next to this village or this place. Most of the people do not have any knowledge about nuclear power station, what it will do, what good it will do, what bad it will do. So you will have a sleepy population. They will be sleeping about it. And as long as somebody does not come and tell them, "Arey Baba, it is going to be very dangerous, so don't allow nuclear power station to come up here," they are not going to bother. On their own, they are not going to bother. Neither they have knowledge, nor they have that participation level. Second group, who have high knowledge, but normally you will not find them very actively communicating with people, are the people like us. We are very busy building the reactor. And हमारे दिमाग में ये चलता है, हमको 5 साल में रिएक्टर बनाना है कैसा भी. अभी वो उसमें हर रोज ये पब्लिक के साथ जाके 1 घंटा बात करेंगे तो रिएक्टर लेट हो जाएगा. And why should we talk to these illiterate people? That feeling comes to the mind. Anyway, they don't know anything. So why should we communicate with them? This is the problem. This is the problem from our side, that we do not communicate. We do not consider it as an important thing to communicate with the people. And that too, we wait for a crisis to happen. कुछ एक्सीडेंट होएगा तो हम जाके बोलेंगे नहीं सब सुरक्षित है. उस समय कोई सुनेगा नहीं, वो मारेंगे आपको. Okay, so second group is found often sleeping, though they have the knowledge, but they are sleeping. Then the third group in the mustard color is active public. Now, amongst this active public, part of the media, the educated people like Vittal Natkarni, I am sorry, I am taking your name again and again. So they are well-informed media, but most of them, amongst the 100 journalists, you will find one Vittal Natkarni. 99 will be, they do not, as I told you, they will be covering some crime beat, some sports event, and next they will come to cover the nuclear event also. So part of the media and many NGOs, they know the truth. They know how much radiation is harmful, how much is safe, but they will tweak that information. They tweak and twist that information, and they tell to these people, the less active people. They will tell these people that, Baba, these fellows who are coming to establish a nuclear power station, maybe tomorrow somebody called Malhotra will come and tell you it is going to be very safe. Don't believe him. Actually, it is not safe. आप गूगल में पढ़ के देख लो रेडिएशन से क्या होता है. हिरोशिमा और नागासाकी के बारे में पढ़ के देख लो क्या होता है. And yes, all these negative informations are available on the Google library. I mean, half truths are available there. So those people take advantage of our inactivity. If we were active, then they will not get chance to spread misinformation amongst the public. And the fourth group is highly excited group. They still do not have the knowledge, but they have become excited. So this group, the green group, inactive publics, suddenly they become active publics because those NGOs and part of the media, they excite them. So without acquiring any knowledge, they become excited and an agitation starts as it started at Kodaikanal. So this is my perception. So I think in nutshell, we have to talk to all of them. And we should be the first ones to talk before somebody comes and spoils our game. So that is why I say, sukh ke time mein communicate karna is very, very important. What happened? I think some of these. खाली लेजर के लिए यूज करें। हाँ ठीक है, नेक्स्ट स्लाइड। यस सर, है सर। हाँ, एनीवे आई थिंक ही विल हेल्प। So, next, I think some of these slides I have to see. Previous slide you can show. Often people say that Chernobyl हुआ and Fukushima हो गया. So nuclear reactor means very prone to accident. But the question comes, how many accidents after all? Now nuclear industry is about more than 50 years old. So how many accidents have happened? We have had 3 accidents actually. 3 Miles Island, then Chernobyl, and then Fukushima. But as per an expert body known as PSI, Paul Scherrer Institute, it is based in Switzerland, they are considered as the global record keepers of accidents. Their definition of accidents is that at least 5 people should die, then only they will call it an accident. If less than 5 people are dying in an event, they will call it an unusual event, okay, rather than calling it as an accident. So they have listed that there is only one accident in nuclear. The reason being because in 3 Miles Island nobody had died, so they don't consider it as an accident. And of course, when they made this report, Fukushima had not happened because this report is of up to year 2008. So as per them, you can see the comparative figures. How many people died in various types of sectors giving you energy. Hydro, a lot of people died. Coal mining, a lot of people died. In fact, the least number of people have died in the case of nuclear. But this information is generally not available to people. Even at Fukushima, see, when I used to go and address students, I used to ask them, as per you, how many people might have died in Fukushima? So people will say 5,000, 10,000, like that. But the fact is that the number is 0. At Fukushima, nobody died because of the nuclear accident. People died because of drowning. People died because debris fell on them. Okay. Anyway, next slide. Next. I think we can go next. Now here I would like to draw your attention that normally they say that a lot of radiation is coming out of nuclear power station. So we have a body called Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, which is independent. I mean, it does not work under the Department of Atomic Energy. It's an independent body. So their report I am showing. For example, see that red tower, what you see is the natural background radiation, whether you have nuclear reactors operating or not. That much radiation is there as per the, I mean, natural background radiation we call it, because there is uranium, thorium, potassium 40 in the earth. Because of that, radiation is coming out, radon is coming out. There is cosmic radiation. So we call it, see, background radiation is of 2 types. Terrestrial background radiation means from the mother earth the radiation is coming out, and another is cosmic radiation, from the space radiation is coming. So this makes the natural background radiation, and that level is that red. I am not going to define the units. That level is, so let us say 2400 is the number, that red tower. Above that, regulatory bodies like Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, they allow additional 1000 on that 2400. Another 1000 you can go, the nuclear industry can go. But actual fact is, you can see those black marks, rectangles you will see. Most of the nuclear power stations, the radiation outage is negligible as compared to even that 1000 limit which has been set by AERB. So the fact is that at nuclear power stations, again, I don't want to give figures to you. I only want to tell you that there is a lot of margin between what radiation level can be dangerous and what is actually coming out of a nuclear power plant. Next. Actually, now this is what people do not. Nowadays, you are hearing a lot about pollution. You are hearing a lot about global warming. In fact, they say that if global warming is, no mitigation is done, probably in less than 100 years, there is a probability of life becoming extinct. Slowly, may not be one sudden day, but slowly the life may become extinct on this. Do you know because of what? Will it be because of nuclear power? Will it be because of radioactive waste, nuclear waste? No, it will be because of a very simple molecule called carbon dioxide, which is essential for our life. By the way, carbon dioxide is essential for our life, but the level is a little more. So when the level is more, it is instead of being life for us, it is becoming a life threat for us. So life may become extinct, and life, anytime if it becomes extinct on this planet, it will be because of carbon dioxide, not because of nuclear power. In fact, nuclear power has been saving lives. Now, this is all data given by World Health Organization. And as per World Health Organization, every year, so far, nuclear power has definitely saved about 1.9 million lives. Because nuclear power stations are generating that electricity. If nuclear power stations were not there, that electricity would have been generated by the fossil fuel, and these many people would have, additional people would have died. So this it's a well-researched papers and reports by World Health Organization. So this is what public does not know. Public thinks that nuclear power will kill people. Actually, it is saving the lives of the people. Next. Here is another. I talked about the perceptions which are much more, the amplified perceptions and the attenuated perception. I am giving you both the examples here. Nuclear power is dangerous, so it is an amplified perception. Actually, nuclear power is not all that dangerous, but amplified perception of the people is that nuclear power is dangerous, but radioactive sand is good for them. This is what is the, so this is an attenuated perception about the same thing. So radiation becomes good if you go to a beach. This is, by the way, Dr. Jayaraman's book. I have taken this picture from Dr. Jayaraman's book. He has authored a book about radiation, Faithfully Yours, I think. If I remember correctly, the name of the book is Faithfully Yours. He's talking about the radiation and radioactivity. So he has given this picture. He himself had gone to Brazil, to this sea beach. There is this sea beach in Brazil. And here, this about 200-meter long. It's full of radioactive sand because a lot of thorium is found there, similar to our Kerala beaches. High radioactivity there. And there, what people do, it's a health tourism place. So people go there and bury themselves in the radioactive sand. Up to neck, they will bury themselves. And they say that all diseases will go away because of the radiation. So if the radiation is coming from a nuclear power plant, it will kill them. But the same radiation, if it is coming from a radioactive sand, then it is going to save your lives. So this is, I think, an irony, a situation. So we have to, the science communicators have to tell them that the radiation coming from nuclear power station and from this sand is essentially the same. Next. I mean, a lot of people say nowadays, it is in the news that Germany is going to close all its power stations by 2022. Although people laugh at them, actually the European community themselves are telling, they have written to the German Chancellor requesting them to reconsider their decision. But anyway, they are probably going to close down their nuclear power stations by the end of this year. But they are the sole, they are the single country. Next slide, if you show. They are shown by that black color on the global map. all other countries and other colors are telling either they are already nuclear or they want to become nuclear. Such are the countries. So Germany is the only country which thinks nuclear power is not safe. And in fact, nowadays there is a renaissance of nuclear power, because the complete European government, they are telling that, in fact, they are requesting the banking system to give special concessions to nuclear power, so that if we have to achieve, because as you know, there is talk about net zero emission by the year 2050 that they want to achieve. And if that has to, only last month in February, they have had COP26, COP26 meet, where it has been resolved that by 2050, they have to restrict to net zero emission of radiation. If that has to be done, definitely nuclear is going to be an essential component of our power system, because we have to totally give away the fossil fuels, and giving away fossil fuels is not going to be practically possible without adopting nuclear power. Next. Now I am coming towards the end of my talk, and a comment on my dear media. So as you see, I mean, forget about the print media, but nowadays the electronic media, you come across these words: breaking news and exclusive story. Now, what are their breaking news and what are their exclusive stories? I will tell you. Personally, I am telling you, on a given Independence Day, I think about 5-6 years back, I am talking, I was getting ready, because in our department there used to be the flag hoisting. So I was getting ready to go to my office for flag hoisting. And at that time only, that TV, the Prime Minister's, at about 7:30, he will come and he will address the nation. So they were preparing for that. So at that time, I will not tell you the name of the channel, because in fact, all the channels do this. So one channel, today's breaking news: country celebrating 72nd Independence Day. Now that was the breaking news. Every citizen, probably fifth में पढ़ने वाले बच्चे को भी मालूम है कि आज इंडिया. But what is the breaking news in that? But then they want to give a breaking news. And similarly, exclusive story. Same story will be coming on every channel, and every channel will be telling that it is my exclusive story. Okay, so they are doing the first time voting. So in this era, when there is a tough competition for exclusive stories and breaking news, sensationalization is the in thing. You somehow make the news sensationalization. Okay, and verification of the story or data is seen as an unnecessarily time-consuming exercise, because if you indulge in verification of the story or verification of the data, you will be losing precious time. You will not be able to break the story in time, or you will not be able to have an exclusive story. I'll give you one example. Next slide, please. In 2004, tsunami happened, as you know, in India. We were badly hit, and Tamil Nadu was badly hit. So we have a project there. We have Kalpakam. We have 3 nuclear reactors operating there. So lot of water gushed in our residential colony. Also water came. Ground floor flats of our residential colony, they were badly affected, and about 24 people, they were either our employees or their family members. They died in the process, but in their residences, not in the nuclear power station. At nuclear power station, everything was safe, because when the water level was increasing because of the tsunami, the reactor on its own shut it off, because that safety mechanism is there. So all the reactors were off. And at that time, we had done excavation work for prototype fast breeder reactor, which is now ready. Anytime it will be commissioned. So at that time, we had done only excavation. So there was about 50-meter deep pit was there. So all that tsunami water came and filled up that pit. So the place was full of water. But there was a signboard. At every construction site, you will have a signboard. So there was a signboard on which it was written, prototype fast breeder reactor project. So this TV reporter, I personally know him, but again, I do not want to defame him. I have not put his name. He came and focused his camera on that board, and he said, "This is the site of prototype fast breeder reactor. There used to be a reactor here, which is no more now. It is drowned in water." Actually, there was no reactor. There was only a gadda. वो गड्ढे में पानी भर गया था. But this is what he announced. Poor chap. He was referring to that pit, excavation pit. So he did not confirm. He did not ask even one person कि यहाँ कोई building था या नहीं. He concluded that there must be a building which is now drowned in water. So this is what happens in media, and I think my very favorite newspaper, Times of India, where Vittal also used to work. Now he doesn't work. Next slide, please. So in 2014, I even remember the date, 7th September 2014. This news came on as the top headline. Cancer behind 70% deaths in India's atomic energy hubs. So the allegation was that people like us who are working in atomic energy, 70% of us are dying because of cancer, and that cancer is given to us as a bonus by Department of Atomic Energy. I mean, that was the allegation. I immediately became active, started contacting my friends in Times of India, and after 3 days, as if there is a fish market, after 3 days they brought another article. From 70% they came down to 16%. They said actually not 70%, 16% are dying, and they have discussed with some people in Tata Memorial Hospital. I shouted at them that Baba, even this 16% is very high. Actual number is less than 0.1. Less than 0.1% people are dying because of cancer, and our number is matching with the national average. But they would not listen. So such things happen because ultimately it was proved that they borrowed the data from an RTI activist, did some wrong calculations, and because of that all this happened. So anyway, I think part of the job for people like me was always to maintain friendly relation but confront the media friends. Next slide, please. And we try to communicate through our publications also. These are some publications, 3 copy-table books on wildlife around nuclear power plants. One talks about birds, another about butterflies, another about the flowers which are found in the vicinity of a nuclear power station, all the nuclear power stations, just to tell the people that if nature is blooming there, nature is coming out there, there are a lot of butterflies, lot of birds, and lot of flowers there in that locality, that means radiation is not doing any harm. But only problem I found was that these books were very costly because it costs nuclear power corporation good amount of money. So giving away just like that is not possible. So I came out. See, they were published by Nuclear Power Corporation. So corporations are always richer than the government department. So I was in the government department. So out of these 3 books, I made one poster. Next slide. Next. This poster I had made in 2014, and I used to distribute freely to the students, amongst the student community. It used to cost me 3 rupees, one poster. So very easily I was giving away to students. Same information which was contained in those books was contained here about the birds and flowers and butterflies in the vicinity of a nuclear power station. Next one, I think that should be the last. Yeah, this is my last slide, and here I am quoting that as I told you, there was an agitation at the time of Kudankulam, so much so that many bodies, they went to Supreme Court and they wanted the Supreme Court to order that close down this nuclear power station at Kudankulam, and they said it is coming in the way of article number 21, which ensures right to live. The right to life is ensured by the Constitution of India by article 21. So they said under the name of that article, this nuclear power station should not be allowed. And in their judgment, the judges gave, I mean, it's a 400 pages judgment. I have taken a para from there. So what Supreme Court said, the petitioner's contention that the establishment of nuclear power plant at Kudankulam will make an inroad into the right to life guaranteed under Article 21 of the Constitution. Therefore, has no basis. That means that allegation has no basis, and ultimately they permitted for the plant to be put up. And today, in fact, that was about 1 unit. Now 2 units are working and 4 are under construction. And probably within no time, maybe in another 3-4 years time, you will find that this locality not only will be the largest nuclear power station, but the largest power station in India, giving about 6,000 megawatt of electricity. With that, I thank all of you once again. Thank you very much for your attention.